Impact Wrestling. A day before Against All Odds. I did it again. This is the second time I'm filming this. I messed up. Because I thought there was a rash on my face. Ain't no rash. But earlier, I did Impact Wrestling, which was dumb already. And then I said Against All Odds, which is dumb already because I usually do it here. And then I say Impact or TNA Wrestling. But now I just did Impact Wrestling, and then I just said Against All Odds right there. And I'm going like, am I losing my mind? No, I just screwed up. But let's get to this show, and let's make this very clear. I'm going to tell you this. This was not a bad show. It was not. I still do not like that doing back-to-back this show and then the TNA Plus shows. I don't like that. It would be better if they do it on a Saturday, but I can understand why they don't do it. Because since WWE does stuff on Saturday, it messes up everything. And they don't do it Sunday because guess what? If they're not doing a actual pay-per-view, they're going to be dealing with AEW if they do anything on a Sunday. So they rather do it on a Friday. And I'm like, ugh, I hate it. But, almost forgot. Before I get started with this, make it quick. I did watch Dynamite. But because it was 4 hours. And I know you're going to say, dude, what happened to your Dynamite review? I chose not to do it. I kind of went down the same path as JD. It's 4 hours. By the time I look at what I wanted to look at and review a couple of extra stuff, it would have been past 1. And I'm like, really? And understand, they're doing it again. They're doing it next week. The same day, 4 hours. I don't think I'll be doing a review of that either, but now I might do at least my thoughts at the 2-hour mark next week, because I thought I might do the 4, but I'm like, do I actually want to do 4 straight hours again? That's what I'm thinking. But you guys tell me below, do you want me to do 4 hours? Which I'm really not fond of, but it is what I'm thinking. But let's make this very clear. You see the title. And I can understand why they did it. Because when you watch the match itself, it was not great. But let's start. Tasha Steelz versus Indy Hartwell. Indy won the match. Let's make it clear. The match was good. Indy won. But this wasn't about her win. This was about Order 4, the cabinet of Mustafa Ali. I call them the cabinet. Even though they're called Order 4. The cabinet sounds more presidential, sounds more important than Order 4. Come on. Couldn't he call them the cabinet? But anyway. This was about how Ali has lost his mind. Haunch now notices what a Tasha Steelz noticed. But Jonathan Skyler has not changed his mind yet. He's still doing the marching orders for Ali. So during the match, you got Skyler trying to get Haunch to knock the teeth out of the mouth of a Indy Hartwell, and he didn't want to do it. That distracted Tasha Steelz, that she's looking at Haunch, she's looking at Skyler, she gets the boot to the face, and the signature move of an Indy Hartwell, and she won it. Was the match a little sloppy? A bit. Let's make it very clear. Tasha has never worked with Indy much at all until recently. So it's going to be a little sloppy with Indy, that she gets to know the women on the roster. She knew everyone on NXT and she knew everybody on the main roster, at least enough whenever they did do the matches. So it's understandable. At first, you're going to be a little sloppy unless you got, let's go, 100% chemistry, which not everyone does. But as you see Indy walking to the back, you got Ali coming out to the ring. He gets in the ring, not happy, grabs the ref, throws him to the ground. And you get Tasha trying her best to calm him down, and he shoves her ass like she owed him money. Like it used to be when I was a kid, when a woman, and look, I don't condone it, but let's make it very clear. The way he shoved her down was just like when I was growing up as a little kid back in the 70s and early 80s. If you pissed off your man back then, who, let's make it honest, there weren't a lot of good men back then. They didn't give two damn flips about women, more than worse than they are now. You think men don't care? Back then they didn't care. They were really nasty. You think you got it bad now, women? You don't have it, just like back then it was worse. But you did something wrong, you owed them money, they do something a little nasty, something like that. At least he didn't get shoved too hard, but that has happened. I've seen it. But then Hunch gets into the ring, goes nose to nose with him, saying, "What the hell are you doing? Stop." And he goes to the back. Now, here's where it gets interesting. You see Skylar and Tasha together. He asks her, "You all right? You good?" And he says, "Yeah, but what is going on? What is wrong with him?" And he's saying he's under a lot of pressure. Pulls out the phone because he gets a text, and no, not text, a call. And if it's the person, whoever that is, Tasha takes the phone and says, "Look, you need to talk to him. Can you talk to him?" And pretty much Skylar said, "Don't worry, I'll give him the message." Ali comes out, comes from the side, and he says, "Are we good?" And she says, "Yeah." And then Hunch gets nose to nose, and he makes it very clear, "I know why you're here. You want to say you're sorry. I understand you're young, you're impetuous, but we need to make it very clear that order 4, you do an action, there's a consequence. And for you, you're going to get a great consequence because at Against All Odds, you're going to be in a match against somebody. And you will show, and you must win to prove that order 4, when there's an action, there's a consequence. And that person is me you're going up against." And he looks at him, and you see Skylar, and you see Tasha like, "What the fuck? Really?" But this is what we get. I do not know who it is, and I do not want to know. I'm making it clear, do not leave a message down below. I don't want to see who that person was on the phone is in my comments. I told you guys, or someone new. I don't like knowing. It's more fun for me not to know. That's why I don't always look at any dirt sheet sites. I don't. Unless I'm doing a Gump report where I want to report on something, I don't do it. So please do not leave me any information about who was on the damn phone. Don't. You leave it in there, I'm going to get pissed off at you. And I don't like getting pissed off at people. So there you go. Next. Eric Young versus Moose for the X Division Championship. Good match. It's really strange seeing Eric with gray beard now. I mean, he's about my age, a little bit younger, I think. I'll be 54 this year, so I think he's in his early 50s as well, or late 40s, early 50s. I think he's just a little bit younger than me, possibly. So seeing him with gray, it's weird. But it was a good match, but Moose cheated. And the thing that I did like, seeing that the O Canada anthem being yelled out by Eric Young, and he's got his foot on Moose, who's in a tree of woe, and he's pushing on that damn gonads in between his legs, which was cool. I kind of like that. I knew that I had heard that he used to do that in Team Canada back in the early 2000s. I had never seen it. I want to make this clear. I didn't watch TNA in the very beginnings when it used to be with NWA, and then when it broke away. I didn't start watching until 2010. So anything before that, I didn't see all of it. So I don't have that much knowledge about it. Yes, I've seen some shows, but not episodes of Impact. Well, that's what it was called. But it was pretty good. But when he lost, this is where it gets interesting. They are in Canada. A guy goes, "Hey, you did great. You did wonderful. High five, my friend." And this guy, who I don't recognize, gets nailed in the face, pulled over the guardrail, and him and the Northern Armory whooped that ass. So the question is, who is he? He looks like he can be a fan or a former wrestler. So the question is going to be, what the hell are we going to be dealing with? We already saw Ali take out a ref and Tasha. Now we see Eric Young grab a fan, supposedly. You know it ain't a real fan. Get his ass whooped. And then walks away with the Northern Armory. The question is going to be, who is it? And who are they connected to that's going to get back at Eric Young? That's just going to be how it is. Next, the third match. Let me give it to you like this. Headed by Elodie. You see I'm botching here. Here's the thing. As I've always stated over and over ad nauseum, if you're bringing people in, make them look good. If they're jobbers, use them. If there are new people coming in, make sure at least you give them something good to work with. Make sure you give them something they can start off of, a good match or maybe a good storyline. In this situation, we get a match because of what happened last week. And in this situation that M, who's been built up, who's a tall ass woman with a thick ass, with no disrespect to her, she actually could wrestle okay. She's an okay wrestler. She does have a, I'm not saying she has a good presence yet because I haven't seen how she talks yet and what type of character that creative is going to give her. But I know Heather. Heather can talk. She wrestles well, and it shows in this match. But when you get Grace and Hudson, who are brand new, the first Irish hired to TNA, because they've never had any Irish wrestler ever hired to TNA. They've only had British wrestlers like William Regal, like Magnus, who is Nick Aldis, and a few other people. But the thing that gets, like Bram, but the thing that gets me, instead of giving Heather, well, I would have rather seen them build these two women up. When it comes to Grace and Hudson, I would have liked to see them built up into this match. You just brought in M. And instead of giving them a tag match against some jobbers, or better yet, give M a match by herself, you decide to have 3 new women with Heather in a match. And I'm like, you need these women to get over. You need M to get over. You need Hudson to get over. And you need who has been made very important because she's the first Irish-born talent to join TNA in history. Wouldn't it have been better to give them a win, either individually or as a tag team? No. Yes, you did have to do some cheating because of the concierge, because of the Iceman, but it doesn't make it right. Now, I thought they were going to build up into this and give them time to allow Hudson and Grace sometime either to match separately or a tag match together and just slowly build them up before they have to get a loss. No, you give them a loss straight up here, even with cheating, gives a really bad impression. I do not agree with this because these women deserve to debut. And I know people say, well, they debuted on Explosion. It's not the same. I'm sorry, it's not. We are talking about Impact, which is seen on Access all the time and any other streaming services. This is Impact. This is not Explosion, which is exclusive to YouTube, which doesn't get big numbers. This show gets big numbers, and you just let them job, and I do not agree with it. I don't. I know they did the cheat, and it kind of protects them, but I don't agree. Moving on. Now, before, let me give it to you like this. I'm going to do a couple of video packages. Did I like Danny Luna's video package? Yes. There's no sign of Jody Threat. She's probably going to do it next week. But seeing that Danny's by herself is a good thing because they needed more women to work separately in the Knockouts division. They needed it for a while. They've been doing too many tags. They need to do something. So seeing that she still feels something, she didn't say that she still feels something for Jody, but she loved Spitfire. And now it's over and it's now about her. Fine. Let me give you this. Do I care about Warner's VidPack when it comes with him and Steph DeLander? No, I don't. I don't really feel it because we haven't seen Warner wrestle much other than Sammy. And I needed more from him. And next to what happened with the barbed wire mayhem match, which is great, I wanted to see more of him on the main roster. And we haven't seen that yet, other than what he did with Sammy. So I don't feel anything from him yet. Yes, Steph. Seeing they're actually a couple. Seeing the actual feeling when they kiss one another. You can tell they like kissing one another because they are an actual couple. But it doesn't feel like anything because we haven't seen them do anything much. Other than when she had the Digital Media Championship, thank you, that is gone. It's not enough for me. We needed more, and we didn't get it. So I'm moving on from that. The Elijah Vid pack was alright. Going into Against All Odds tomorrow. The Treehouse segment with the Rascals was okay. And as you know, light them up if you got them, is what we got during that at the end of the segment, which still people love. But do I care about them going against the Nimitz? It's not bad, but really I wish there was more jobbing for them. Let's make it very clear. They don't really have much for Nick and Ryan. That's why we got the 6-man tag. They don't bring in enhanced talent for them to job for them. And the same for the Rascals. The Rascals either had to go to NXT to get it done, or they're going to have to go in either a 6-man or an 8-man tag to be seen, so at least they'll be seen as a tag, but it doesn't feel right. This is one of the problems TNA has. They need to bring in more enhanced talents for their roster to feel really full, because it doesn't feel stacked. It feels like this instead of feeling like this. There's the difference between AEW, which, of course, they're like this, compared to WWE, which is kind of like this. But they're like this because they don't really like to show people, even though they got tons of people. And WWE has a lot of people, but they show them more on Evolve, Speed, NXT than they do on Raw and SmackDown. That's the way I know it. So it just feels really like this in TNA, legitimately. There's so few people there. And you use the same people over and over again, but you got to cover them by doing multiple different types of tags. 6 men, 8 men, 10 men, 12 men, or singles. You don't even do regular tag. I'm just saying. The last match was a 6-man tag, the Nimitz and a Kaz, which I'll talk about with Joe Henry, I will, versus a Matt, a Leon Slater, and what can I say? You know, it's I love Santana. He's doing the greatest work. But then it's like, what are they doing with Santana? I know they're protecting him, and I know they're giving him stuff to do until they're ready to use him. But it's like, where are they going to go with him? I want to see him do something. I wish he had not gone up against Trick, but I understand they had to because they got to try and build something. But I'm hoping that this is leading to Slammiversary with Trick Williams dealing with Santana again. That's what I'm hoping for. That's what I'm hoping for. Match was all right. You got Slater winning over a Ryan through, no, not Slater. It was Santana won. Spin the block. That's what he had. It was a good match. It was fun. Now, before we get to the final match, let me say this about Joe Henry and Kaz, which they are going to have a match at Against All Odds. Let me give it to you like this. Do I feel anything between this match? Yes, I do, because of what happened with Joe. I do care about Joe. Kaz is still Kaz as king of TNA. He always is somewhat too entertaining. He's somewhat entertaining to entertaining. But the thing's going to be what happens after Against All Odds when it comes to Joe Henry. Let's make this very clear. They got to do something with Joe. They must. I don't think they'll turn him heel, but they got to do something with him. Because at this point, he's still very popular. And if they do not do something smart with him and he loses popularity, loses that pops he get, that's going to be on them. Because they got to do something with him. Final thing, actually, I should add this in. What do I think about Stone versus Santino when they both talked before the 6-man tag? Santino sounded so good. It was... I do buy Santino's angle. He losing his position, having to give up power for tomorrow so he can see if he's going to be allowed to keep doing as it stands the way he wants, or we're going to get the new sheriff in town. We're going to get Stone's show. Sheriff Stone's show. I think that's what it's called. That I do feel. So I am interested in that. But here's the thing. What I wasn't interested in was the Monsters Ball match. As you can see, from the title, she was not ready. She wasn't. Let's make this very clear. I'm not against Xia Brookside. I am not. She's not a bad wrestler, and she can do somewhat of a good character. She doesn't have a great development of a character, but it's alright. But what they decided to do with this girl was the most stupidest thing they could have done. I'm sorry. You could tell from the way they did this match, it was bad. And even though the crowds were cheering, didn't take away from how awkward it was for her in this damn match. Now, they tried to set up in the beginning that she had never done a Monsters Ball match, which is fine, and made her act like she couldn't handle the lights, she couldn't handle the sounds. That was fine, and actually I liked that. Since she was still young and very inexperienced, that actually went along with her character. It did. But we are talking about a Monsters Ball match that Rosemary, who hasn't done it in 6 years, knows it thoroughly and knows how to make it look good, and Xia did not. And it just felt so awkward how she acted. She didn't come out in the proper clothes. I think coming out in pink was not good. And worse yet, taking it off, she didn't try to hide the pink. She didn't try to make the pink go away, which would have been interesting. Because if you're going to make her be a hardcore wrestler now, like the evils come out of her, they should have had something around the ring that can make her clothes begin to get dirty and dark. And that's what she needed. We didn't get it. And she won that match. And I'm like, what? That made no sense. It should have been Rosemary who won. But she didn't win. And I'm like, what? Look, what they should have done with Xia, instead of just throwing her into one of the most violent matches they have, next to the Barbed Wire Mayhem match, this is the second most longest running and most violent match they have in TNA and Impact Wrestling. Instead of building her up into it so she can learn how it feels to do a hardcore match, like doing a First Blood match, or a last man or last knockout standings match, or a steel cage match, or a strap match, or a bull rope match, or a Texas bull rope match. No. You gave her none of that. And it showed so bad. It made no sense why they did it. Now, I understand, and I say this again, we have executives as the ones who run TNA that were ordered by Anthem. Anthem ordered those executives to take over. Carlos Silva is an executive, not a wrestler, not a promoter, not a producer of pro wrestling, just a guy who worked in network and sports for decades. He knows nothing about pro wrestling. Nothing. He is not, like I said, anyone who takes that position has to be like an Eric Bischoff. And he wasn't, and the guy before him wasn't either. This was stupid. She should have gone through smaller, hardcore matches first to learn how to feel in this type of environment and how to make it look good, and she did not. This match was terrible, and I understand why it wasn't on Against All Odds. I thought, before I saw the match, knowing this was coming, again, TNA gave us this type of match one day before a pay-per-view, or 2 days before a pay-per-view, or a TNA Plus show. And a lot of times, I was right. They should have saved it for the TNA Plus show, or they should have saved it for the pay-per-view. This one, I understand why they did it. I think somebody, some higher up, some damn executive, made this decision saying, just put her in there, just make sure there isn't that much blood. And I'm like, really? Was so stupid. This was bad. And just in case, I almost forgot, if you guys didn't notice, in the very beginning of the show, there was audio problems, and there was a lot of glitching that was going on when it came to the app. I don't know if you guys noticed. Tell me if you did. It brought down the show along with this match. It was like the beginning of the show, like about first 8 to 10 minutes of the show, where you can hear it in the audio, but also see there was a lot of problems with the app that they were using. So I'm telling you now, this was bad. The show, for most part, had things built up into it leading into tomorrow, but that Monsters Ball match was trash. And I'm not blaming Zaya at all. I want to make this clear. This is not Zaya's fault. Again, I want to make this clear. They should have gave her a strap match. They should have gave her a steel cage match. They should have gave her, working with Rosemary, a first blood or a last knockout standings match. Something before this match, which would have culminated in it. No. I'm just saying, peace.